Now then, here's a bit of a project. Now you remember that the first rule of solar panels is there's no such thing as too many solar panels, and then when you add in the quote from Jim Dodge that no man can deliver himself from a serious obsession, and then you add that further to all the hike in the energy prices and the fact that I've got a few solar panels that have been stored for quite a while because I've never found a place to fit them, and the fact that last week I was sorting out the solar trailer, and behind the big tracking unit there was this old trailer chassis. I knew it was there, but you know, focus of attention and all that sort of thing. So I dragged it out, and I really should have started from the baseline, because this was covered in bits of bramble and nettle and all sorts of things, and bits of rotten wood and you name it. Yeah, but I've tidied it out a bit, and at the back there, I don't know whether you can see, right, there's some of the old bits of nettle and whatnot. Yeah, and I've ripped all the timber off, which was very easy. And the reason why I stopped using this was because the drawbar was rotten, basically. It was really had it. And I could quite easily have made a fresh drawbar and fitted it, but it was sort of around the time that I was making a deliberate policy of focusing my attention on something else, because there was a lot of things going on that I really didn't need to think about, but they were just building up to a completion. So I dragged another trailer chassis out that I'd built years and years and years ago. In fact, somewhere I've got a photograph of this trailer behind my Mark 1 Frontera with a 24-foot Austrian pine log on it. About 2.5 ton, my guess was. If I can find that photo, I'll drop it in somewhere. But anyway, I shortened that, and one of the reasons why I did that was because I wanted a double axle trailer that will take quite a bit of weight. And then a friend of mine gave me a load of reject oak floorboards, so it's got an oak floor in it, which is wonderful, and it's put together with stainless steel screws, and you know, you carry on. And of course all the steel work was painted. Anyway, that's besides the point really. That's just going off at another tangent, which I think I'm quite good at. So that's the hitch off this trailer. And just coming round here, there's bits of the rotten, repaired and messed about with drawbar. You can see how bad it was. Right, so taking all that lot into consideration, this is going to be another solar trailer with 5 or 6 panels on it. So let's just have a look at a few of the materials. So I have these bits of industrial racking. As you see there, it says 1,000 kilos. And they're not quite, I think they're 2.9 meters. So that would do, because 6 panels will be 6 meters long. So that's a sort of start. And what we need to do is we need to run a 5.5–6 meter length of steel down the middle of this chassis, sticking out either end. One end will have a drawbar attachment on it and some windy jack, and that's where you start from. And then there'll be 3 or 4 uprights coming off that center spine with another piece of steel on the top set at an angle, and I've got that heavy duty angle iron there, and that's about 5 meters long, so that's a good start. So, you know, going on the basis of use what you've got, and then people offer you, do you want this lump of steel? You know, yes. And I think that lump of steel there has been in stock for maybe 10 years, but now we've found a use for it. Yeah, great. It's just been stood up in a corner next to the workshop. Great. So the thing here is, I think I should go round this with an angle grinder and a big rotary wire brush and clean it all off. You know, we've got lots of flaky paint and rust and what have you. Clean it all off and give it a good coat of bitumen paint. But of course that requires the steel to be dry, and it rained last night. So that's the start of the project. I'm just going to stand back a bit, move the camera back, and just show you what I mean about a spine rail on the start. So one bit will go there, like that, and the other bit will shoot off the front. Now, this axle arrangement is lower than this, so we'll need to find a piece of steel that we can put in there, weld it there and there to support, because this box section here will join together in the middle, and then we'll have uprights coming off there, and I want them quite tall. And then once we've got this piece, I'm hoping you can see this, once we've got that top rail in place, then we can put struts down to here to strengthen it up. And then on top of that top rail, we can then put a frame, lightweight, and I've got the pieces of that. Okay, the project's moving on. I've given the chassis a scrape down and a wire brush, and I've splattered some bitumen paint over everything. This will be the last time it gets any paint, I suspect, so I thought I'd better just do my best. And then, because that central axle is lower than the surrounding rails, I put that in place, but that box section was just slightly a bit too large, so I've had to cut notches either end, but that's about the right sort of size now. So I'm going to weld that in place. I've just ground the paint off just where the welds are going to happen. I'm going to weld that in place, and then over there we've got one of those rails, and there's another one lent up there, and we'll get those in place, and that's the basis for the start, for the support. This front rail here is a little bit dodgy. There's a bit of rot there, and there's a little bit of rot at the back there, so I may put an extra rail in front. I could have cut that out, but that would mean interfering with the corners and all sorts of things, and because it's nothing special, I've got this piece of galvanized, and I can just grind the galvanizing off in certain places and just weld it onto these corner posts, and that'll do. That'll just strengthen that rail up there. I don't want that packing up in 5 or 6 years time. We want this to last 15 years, although the tyres won't last that long. virtually guaranteed. Mind you, I might try and cover them up with something just to keep the UV off them a bit more. Right, I'm going to crack on with this. So that's that in place. It's straight. So we're just going to do a bit of thinking about things now and measuring up, deciding what we need to do. We need 3 uprights basically that come off the top of this rail. But how long are they? So here's the plan. We have the trailer that I moved a few days ago. There's a wheel and there's a wheel. Okay. And from that point there to the ground is 6 foot. And between there and there, that horizontal and that centre point, that's a foot. Yep. So what I'd want is this other trailer to have another set of panels up there. So what we need is from the ground to the top of the mount, which is here. Yeah, I shall want 6 foot plus so we want 7 foot minimum to that point from the ground. And I'm going to give it a bit more, 7'6", to allow for uneven ground and all that sort of thing. So 7 foot 6 inches. There we go. And then the other trailer, of course, will be here with the wheels, but that one will be above that one, so therefore they can go one behind the other. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense. So what have we got now? We have got, between the ground and the top of this rail is 1'6". So therefore the uprights that go on top of that need to be 6 foot. Let's just put this down there. Minus 1'6" equals 6 foot. Okay, that'll do. So 6 foot, yeah. Okay, so we need to find 3 pieces of box section that are 6 foot long. Brilliant. That's a plan. And here we are again with Uncle Harold's homemade cut-off saw, power hacksaw, cutting at an angle. Yeah, brilliant. It's nice to use this from time to time. So I will just cut off the top of 3 of these struts, and then they'll all be the same angle and square. Right, the bevel is on that side, so that needs to notch round that. And we're not doing engineering standards here, we're doing that's about right standards. Okay. Because we're going to cut this out with one of those 1mm thick discs. so we're going to be sort of accurate, but only sort of. Right, let's just cut that out. PPE on. Noise alert. Right, that'll do. Let's put it in place. Around there somewhere. Now these green shelf structures, there's a slight bit of twist in them, but because we've got quite a lot of leverage, I'm not really worried about that, because when we put the top rail on, it'll even out. We'll be able to twist and bend it. We're talking rural here, we're not talking, as I said earlier, engineering of a high standard. Well, I think about there. So, we'll put this here. See, there's a bit of wobble involved, but that'll be right. Yeah, I know it's leaning slightly that way, quite a lot. Let's have a look. Right. I need a little bit off there, but it will do this quite easily. Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, this one, it'll be right. Okay, let's get the level out. Now, I know that is reasonably good. Let's just grab hold of the camera and show you. That's pretty good. So let's just stick the level on this. There we go. So I'm going to tack these in place, and then we can put the top on. And that'll be about it for this video, I think, but let's just see how we get on. Okay, that's all three welded in place. And I've sort of lined them up as best I can by twisting them a bit, because there is quite a lot of flex in that beam there. which is fine. I'm not really fussed. Right, we've just got to get the angle iron on the top. Now, what's the chances of all those three being dead right? Next to impossible. But and I'm not going to film me putting that angle iron on there because it's going to be a bit of a struggle. So I'll get back to you in a minute. Right, I've got the angle iron tied to the support on the left hand side there. This whole thing is going to shuffle about like mad when I start moving stuff, but perhaps I'll have a block underneath at the back there. I'll just do that. Right, that's a bit better. Wish me luck. No. One more. There we go. Whoopee. That was not too bad really, considering my left knee's a bit iffy. So there you go. Good. I'm just going to tie those in place and we'll call it a day for the moment. Obviously this end here, the angle iron is not long enough, so we'll have to weld an extra bit on there, but that'll do. We're sort of let's just get a view from a different point. I think perhaps not. That'll do. We'll get some, once we get the panel frame on there, then we can get some bracing down to various places and it will stiffen up and that'll be grand. And then once all the panels are on and it's wired up, I'm going to put some concrete blocks, lumps of whatever else, heavy stuff in the trailer itself just to stabilize it. But on one end, which will be probably that end, zoom out, that end there, there'll be a hitch and also some sort of windy jack or something like that. I'll just have to remember which is the heavy end. I think that was the front. Perhaps I'll do it that end. Yeah, because there's well, we'll see. We'll have to balance the weight out. Right. Comments would be great. Any extra ideas before I get on with the next bit would be wonderful. And I will catch up with you soon. Cheers for now.